late night talk shows. Welcome to HowDoWeHuman. This is the podcast where we talk about all the weird and uncomfortable micro moments in life. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Binning.
I'm one of your hosts, Evan Cox.
And we have a special guest today. After a 200 episode break, we got him back, baby. Welcome back to the podcast, Derrick Lee Hood.
Mm-hmm. After you guys went through your Excel sheets and it was like 199. Fuck, there's no one. 200. All right, cool.
We're back. Nah, we love you, Derrick. We love having you here. I took over the intro for some reason. Go ahead, Chris.
Wow. We're going to be talking about late night talk shows. They're
Work
back
sucks.
from the writer's strike. Much like Derrick to this podcast, late night shows are back.
Back, baby.
They're back. Derrick was striking against us for 200 episodes.
That's right. After
terms.
years of negotiating, we finally came to an agreement
I
where
appreciate that,
he
guys.
could
You guys
come
can't
back
use.
on.
You guys can't do deep fakes of me.
Not anymore.
And that's what we wanted to do. We always, even though it's an audio medium, now we have video on YouTube, but even though it's an audio medium, we had been asking all of our guests when we were recording in person to do a full body scan for us. But now we've decided to treat people humanely, I guess. But let's talk about late night shows. Do we like them?
Great question to start off with. Actually, no, you know what?
You guys ever seen one?
It is a great question to start off with because it tees me off to this first point. I have always loved late night talk shows. I got into late night shows when I was a teenager, and I still say I love late night shows. I follow the drama. I follow all of what's going on. I haven't watched an actual episode of a late night show since Colbert's first show. I watched that first episode. I haven't seen an episode of anything since then.
That was like 9 years ago, right? He started in
Yeah.
like 2014 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was a big Letterman, Conan, Craig Ferguson fan. And then these people started going off the air. And I went, eh. So does that mean I'm not a late night fan? I don't watch any of it.
Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe we'll have to come to a consensus here real quick because I think is a show that you do watch, and it's whether or
Sure.
not this counts, which is The Daily Show. Does The Daily Show count as a late night show?
No.
It's half an hour too early. That's like late afternoon. late afternoon. What do you think? What do you think?
I don't know. It's like because I think that it's still. I think it counts.
I kind of do too.
I think it counts. I think that The Daily Show counts more than like Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Yeah, that's fair.
Why is that?
I think it's because there's still a guest interview, like plugging somebody's project. I think that's part of what I associate with late night shows. Broken up into segments. I preferred Last Week Tonight to The Daily Show, but I think that they might both count, but I think that The Daily Show counts more. I think also being on more than once a week helps it count as well.
Yeah.
Do you think real time is late night?
Well, I'm glad you bring this up because maybe it's late night, but I don't think it's. I think it's. We really are stretching the definition of comedy if we want to include Bill Maher. But it might count by association. There are other shows like whatever like Chelsea Handler's show used to be, like that would probably go in that like conversation too, of like once a week panel shows.
I think part of it for me, because both Bill Maher and John Oliver are HBO. I don't know anybody that has HBO.
Yeah.
You have the streaming channel. If you have HBO, sure, you might watch it at night. I don't know. If I haven't seen an episode of John Oliver in like 5 years. Also, I don't know what I watch anymore. But like when I did, I generally watch it during the day. Chris, I know you generally watch all of this shit during the day.
Yeah, nobody. I don't think anybody's like channel
actually
surfing.
Watching at night.
Yeah.
Which
well,
that's
it's
what I
like
used to enjoy.
It's like Evan and I talked about this off mic a couple weeks ago, but during the strike, the major late night hosts all put together a podcast, and the profits were going to go to their staff. And a lot of critics of that podcast were like, well, all the late night hosts are washed up because, on Johnny Carson's last show, it generated millions upon millions of viewers. And now Seth Meyers gets maybe 1 million viewers. Because, and I hate to break this to anybody, but the media landscape has changed in the last 30 years. But yeah, I do watch.
And also, it's not their last show.
That too. But I think that so I do watch Last Week Tonight, and I watch Late Night with Seth Meyers. Those are my two shows, but I watch them the following morning because they upload almost all of the show to YouTube. So I just watch the pieces that I'm interested in, and I count that as watching the show.
When's the, like, growing up, did you watch like Conan and Letterman as it came on? Like,
No.
Did you stay up late for it then?
I would watch the Daily Show and the Colbert Report, but I didn't watch any of the like main network talk shows, which also makes me wonder, I think I watched at least a section of David Letterman's last show. I think I watched his like last top 10 list or whatever, where like it was just a parade of celebrities going on. But I had kind of wondered if, because I hadn't watched them as they were on, if like Letterman, Leno, Carson, like, is it because I wasn't watching them at the time that I didn't think they were funny, or is it that like that style has aged out, so like in my current viewpoint it doesn't seem funny? I don't know what's going on there.
Here's the thing. And this is, if we want to get back to the heart of the podcast being awkward shit, I think it's related because again, Letterman and Conan were my guiding lights as a young man, and a big part of both of their humor is, here's something that is decidedly not remotely funny. And we're gonna hit it so fucking hard and act like it's funny, and that's funny. The awkward side being like, I love this is for me. Top 10 lists are corny as fuck. The jokes are terrible. But I enjoy that. You can't share it with anyone because they'll have the same reaction Chris did. Like, is this, you like this?
Chris, do you watch, like, if you watch the Marx Brothers, like, do you look at it and be like, oh, this is dated, or do you think it's funny?
I'm not sure off the top of my head if I've seen any full Marx Brothers
episode coming up.
Do they have their own YouTube channel? But
I promise you can find them on YouTube.
I'm sure I could.
Yeah.
I've seen like, maybe I've seen some bits, and I think there's a mix. I think there's some stuff that's probably dated and some stuff that still holds up.
What about like old stand up? Like old Carlin and stuff like in old Cosby before we found out. But like those kind of jokes, like do they seem like, oh, it's not funny because or are you just miserable?
Well, I am miserable, but I think that I don't know. I think most of that stuff holds up. Some of it I don't think does, but there's also
the whole
that's
Quaalude
like
thing is not cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's like
that
the nature of comedy in general is that some stuff is just not gonna hold up. But also that like some stuff that was done for shock value is like no longer shocking because you've seen it aped a bunch of times after the original. So I think that there are some things that might still work comedically but seem dated because I've seen the ripoffs essentially. So I don't know. I think there are a lot of different variables to it. I haven't heard either of you defend Jay Leno. Are we just all on the same page that he wasn't funny?
So
because of the drama with Conan?
So the same way that Evan was, like, Conan was my dude. And so and I like that style because it was kind of poking fun at itself. Like and I love the format of late night because it's palatable. Like anybody can watch it. It's just a monologue, desk piece, guest, animals for some fucking reason, another guest, and then music or stand up. And every time, I love
anyone can find something to like about it.
Yeah. And so, like, I like what Conan did with that format or whatever. Yeah. And even at the time, like, I just never watched Leno when I was younger. And then I went to a taping of Leno when he still hosted The Tonight Show, and it broke the wall because in between the things, give me is it Salma Hayek? Is that her name?
Salma Hayek, yeah.
Yeah, okay. She was on, and like they would like talk, and then the moment they would go to break, she would just have a bunch of people come out and do makeup, and then he would turn around and talk to somebody else, and then they would go around and like 5, 4, and then they would start pretending to do a conversation. And I remember like not laughing, but then I saw Conan, and Conan's great. So then when the whole Leno thing happened, of course I was like, fuck that guy. Come on. But as like, I mean, now I think he's cool. He's done cool shit for the writers, and he's always appeared donuts. He's always appeared to be a really good boss for his staff, and so like more like that's cool. But like, he was never like, I never thought he was hilarious.
Right.
I just recently watched. Sorry, Evan. This is my show now. I just recently watched. I watched Fallon's monologue from when he first got back, and I watched Kimmel's monologue.
Yeah.
And Fallon, when we were watching it, like, my wife didn't really laugh, and then Chris was in my head. And the audible eye rolls that, like, but I was thinking, though, but, like, it's that show now has to make you and I laugh, people in retirement home laughs, people who get mad if you say crap instead of shit, you know what I mean? Like, so there's that. So I get all of that. But I do miss the Letterman and Conan and Ferguson thing. 'Cause like Seth Meyers is like the way you feel about like Bill Maher, where you're like, where's the comedy? Sometimes Seth Meyers is just like, you're just bragging that you're smart. That's all you're doing right now, Seth. You're just, I like his show, but the format of it though is very hacky, and so like it's very easy to not be funny.
Sure, because you have to appeal to so many different demographics because there's something for anyone to enjoy. You have to make sure anyone can enjoy it, which kind of boxes you in a little.
Looking back, Conan was an insane choice to host the Tonight
100%.
Show. Yeah, he had a masturbating bear and a character named Preparation H. Raymond.
So do you remember the strike of, was it 2008 when
2007 to 2008?
Yeah. so when Conan was hosting, he had these things to where he would like have people submit fan art or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife on Microsoft Paint made masturbating bear holding vomiting Kermit to do you remember the squirrel that was flying around the studio? Yeah. And that's what it was. They were having people submit ideas how to get the flying squirrel shot down. And if I ever get to meet Conan, then I will have that framed and my wife will sign it for me because it's a piece of art. It was beautiful.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, it is weird to think that, like, especially at that time because it was so like ratings driven. Yeah. And it's weird too with any like writing any kind of TV and you're like, why is the act 1, act 2 here? It's like, oh, commercial time. Like it's all for that. So like it's also weird to build a show around selling shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on, a dog walked by and I got distracted.
So of the current shows, Derek, which ones do you watch? So we know Evan doesn't watch any of them.
Yeah,
I watched like 1 or 2. Which ones do you watch?
I do like Kimmel, and now the more you're thinking about late night and stuff, like Daily Show more so fits into that because it is desk piece and everything else is just kind of disguised as something else.
Yeah.
But anyway, but just off like the big networks, I'll watch. Kimmel's my favorite right now.
I agree.
But you know what? I'm going to say something that our dad's friends might agree with. Okay? Okay?
Okay.
There is an argument to be made that over the past 4 years, like Trump time, that funny...
Hey, that's been longer than 4 years.
Yeah. Okay, but
yeah, I know where you're going. I see where you're going. Yeah,
but yes.
So
following.
In this time, it was like funny took a step back, right?
Sure.
And I get it because, what was it, 2020? Evan and I were fucking burning down CVS's. We were hot. I get it. It was a time. we were in it. But I think there's an argument to be made.
No one can prove that. We wore ski masks.
But there is an argument to be made that funny took a second. Like
you guys took a trip together to the East Coast in the beginning of January of 2021, right? Okay.
We did. And we did some sightseeing. And can I tell you something?
You took a tour of a building?
We took a tour. And our steps that day. Whew, we got our steps in that day.
Yeah. I thought Disneyland was a walking tour.
No. Anyway, you're welcome for saving democracy, Chris. Okay. Also, I like that I'm saying, like, late night, stop being funny. I invaded the Capitol.
Yeah.
But
go on.
It's Kimmel, I think, did that and funny. But I think Fallon wasn't Jon Stewart, or it's not Bill Maher, or not John Oliver. And so, like,
that's not his
when you went from like, I'm going to take down the man, and then I don't know, I get why people stopped watching, but then, do you all know about this motherfucker, Greg Gutfeld?
Only from his Super Bowl commercials.
Yes.
And now I'm very familiar.
So he's on the 5, like on the Fox News thing, and he has his own late night show, right?
Yeah,
and
so I've heard.
It's literally just like the opposite. That's the whole point of it is like, if you make a Trump joke, we're making a Biden joke, right? And it's very hacky and all this stuff. But then this goes back to what you were saying about landscape of TV. So if you go on, like, people will be like, Greg Gutfeld is destroying late night numbers. He's crushing it. Yeah. He's getting... But if you look at, like, Fox News has about 3.5 viewers that watch all of their shit, right? Yeah. So it's like they watch Hannity. So he gets those viewers.
Right.
And so, like... But even so, like, it's like the argument of, like, ratings is such a weird thing to have on. Because...
Yeah.
Like, even shows I hardly, like, everybody streams.
Yeah.
Everybody streams. And so, like,
everybody streams. Nobody watches shit live.
Yeah. Commercials are the worst thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll watch Seth Meyers very rarely. If there's somebody I like his interviews and stuff. But I never cared for James Corden, not for any other reason. It's just like I love Reggie Watts, but it was like for a while it tried to be awkward and weird.
Yeah.
And then it just became like show tunes.
Kiss ass show tunes. Yeah.
Have you seen the compilation of him saying the same interview question over and over again?
No, I love it.
And it's that's what bums me out sometimes too, is like it doesn't. Conan's not dead. His podcast is great, and he's still Conan and everything. But like that, it is weird that like for entertainment, we watch like fake conversations in order for them to like sell a movie that we're going to watch a trailer. It's just weird. Yeah. And there's some people who are good at that can kind of break in and out of that. I think Kimmel's good at that, and you can tell when he's like. But yeah, Evan, watch the clip of him asking. It's the same, and he does like the lean-ins at the same time. He laughs at the same times.
I think it's a compilation from John Oliver's show. I think that it was one of those like things that
That's even better.
They stitch in between the like intro and the main top. Yeah, exactly. And it's James Corden just over and over again being like, "We have to congratulate you on your new movie. Tell us what it's about and who do you play?" Over and over again.
That's so good.
And like he had a lot of funny writers that did like thing and sketches in it and stuff. But yeah, overall I just never. And then Colbert, this is heartbreaking. Yeah. Heartbreaking because I love
saying that.
I love Colbert.
Same.
Right, I love him. But the show is not what I like. He was the perfect guy to take over Letterman. But then like this goes back to like the other side has a point to where like it literally is like Hillary's campaign with some jokes sometimes. And like that bummed me out because like I don't know. I'm telling you, I Kimmel. Like, I like if you wear your political stance on your sleeve or whatever, that's fine. Like, just like, you have to be funny. That's all.
Be funny about it.
And, yeah. And I think, like, sometimes Colbert, who is one of the funniest people, and, like, there's segments and stuff.
One of the funniest people in the history of political satire. That's exclusively what his brand was.
And I'm not saying he has to play that character or whatever, but it's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like that show that maybe I thought it could be, or
Same.
It feels too bland and boring to be Colbert.
Yeah.
I think that I kind of agree with what you were saying. I remember when he first started, he had one of the like more like feral audiences like in studio where like anytime he would be like, you know, he would do this transition a lot, or this style of transition where he would be talking about something in the news, and then he would be like, "Speaking of stupid, Donald Trump," and then we'd have to take like an applause like break for like the crowd to go wild. It's like
the
I might agree with you, but it's not.
Pandemic.
There's no joke yet. Like,
right. Hit me.
And if your goal is to get certain people elected or whatever, right? Like, say if you want to use that platform, which you have every right to do or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like you got to understand that there's half the country that's going to be like, okay, we get it. Okay, like we're gonna go. We're like. And that's weird to me, is like...
I think that's where Gutfeld was born.
Yeah, exactly.
In the middle of the clapter. He squeezed through and raised enough money for like 20 Super Bowl commercials.
It is weird that, like, that became a joke in and of itself, is like, Trump's bad, and then one of the things that pisses me off, whether it's like live comedy or I hate oohs over like nothing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like if they're like, you know, Trump and Melania, ooh, and they're like, man, he went there. Yeah, that drives me crazy. Chris Gethard's show. Did you guys ever watch his stuff?
A little bit.
I've only seen the episode with Jason Mantzoukas and Paul Scheer,
where they
have
just
to
bully
guess
them.
where they have to guess which
Guess
celebrity
what's in the.
is in
It wasn't
the
even what
box.
celebrity. It's
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
what is in the trash
What
can.
is? Yeah.
With Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But watch him on YouTube, because they did like 6 years of like my dream show. If I had my dream show, is where it's just I get to be the name or whatever, and I just get to hire my friends, and they just get to do. And it was like a public access show. It was fucking awesome. And then they took it to True TV, and they did 2 seasons, and it was cool too, because that was like I know it's lame to say like it was punk rock, but like there is this thing to where like punk rock only can exist in certain arenas.
Yeah.
And once you do that in a different arena, and like to a lesser extent, that's what I think of Colbert is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When, you know what I mean? Because his like White House Correspondents thing, when he was in character, was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But it also sometimes bums me out where like these comedians who I love, that will be like, fuck the government, let's go after him. Hey, we should elect this guy. This guy's fucking awesome. I'm gonna not say shit. Fuck the government. And I wish that it was like it's the same thing. Like if you're talking to a friend about anything and you say one bad thing about a political candidate and they say, well, what about this guy? Instead of just being like, dude, there's fucking 300 million of us, right? You can think these two are both douches and are bad for us, that aren't good for us. Anyway, comedy.
So tying back a little bit to something that you mentioned, where with the awkwardness between the commercial breaks with Salma Hayek and like, breaking the wall. One of the things that like really I find so uncomfortable and awkward is when sometimes the host does it. I mean, this in a way kind of connects to the Colbert, like speaking of stupid, Donald Trump. But the when a celebrity or a host is pandering to the audience.
Yeah.
And there are two it happens all the time, but there are two that like stick out in my mind. They're both from Jimmy Kimmel's show. And one is an interview with Danny DeVito, and one is an interview with Sam Rockwell, where basically both of them are like in the middle of telling a story. Like Danny DeVito's talking about working with Tim Burton, and he's like, oh, I've done a couple movies with Tim Burton, Batman Returns, and then he'll like pause, hey, Batman Returns, and then the audience is like, oh yeah, no, we love it. Sam Rockwell,
Dumbo.
I think with Sam Rockwell, I think it was like he was promoting Fosse Verdon. And he was like, oh, I learned how to play drunk because I got some advice from Ray Liotta when I worked with him on a film. The great Ray Liotta. Oh yeah, we love him. I find that stuff so weird, uncomfortable and awkward.
Forced applause breaks.
Yeah. So if you were to go see like a Ringo Starr concert,
which I have,
right, and if he's like, all right, this reminds me of when I was in the band The Beatles, you would say, enough. Enough. No pander.
It's this
reminds me.
It's the repeat of it when they don't get the applause the first time, and so they repeat it to get the he can, if he wants to be like, this reminds me of when I was in the Beatles, and then everyone immediately applauds and goes wild, fine. It's when it would be like if he was like, this reminds me of, when I was in the Beatles, one of the greatest rock bands of all time, the Beatles. And then everybody goes, oh yeah.
Ringo's the best. He just comes out and goes, peace and love. Peace and love. Everyone goes, yeah.
Peace and love.
Best nights of my life.
The great peace and love. Oh yeah.
My great catchphrase. This is Ringo Starr. This is what I sound like. That's a good impression.
Okay. I'll ask this to both, but I think Evan, I can know your answer. I could be wrong. But were there ever any bands you discovered from Conan or Letterman? Yeah,
absolutely. That was what maybe the biggest thing with Letterman is Letterman had awesome taste in music, and would book acts that he liked. Particularly, I remember TV on the radio being. I saw them performing live on Letterman and was like, "Oh, that's my new favorite band." Cool. Yeah, the music was a big aspect of it for me.
Have you ever been to any tapings?
No. And here's the.
No.
I mean, I don't want to get in front of the initial question, which I also want to hear from Chris. But my track coach when I was in, I guess it would have been high school, like a freshman in high school. So I'm like 15, 16 years old. And I love David Letterman, which is not like, all the kids were watching David Letterman. It's like, they say like, oh, find your tribe as you get older. You find your group of people that think the same way you do. Like, I grew up in a place that nobody was watching that shit. And my old man track coach, who was my dad's teacher when he was a kid, had a Letterman sweater and would tell me stories of the day he went to see a taping of David Letterman. And I just was the kid that was like, that's the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard.
It is cool.
In my life. I would love to be you, Mr. Roberts. So, I was a cool kid. That's the end of
that. To go back to the music question, no, because I generally skip the music performances, both on late night shows and on Saturday Night Live.
It's true. He hates music.
I mean, when I was listening to Smartless, the podcast, they were interviewing Darius Rucker, and he was basically telling the story of how he got famous, which was that like he played some small show, and Letterman happened to be in the audience and was like, "Get me like Hootie and the Blowfish.
Get me Hootie
on like ASAP." And then they were on like a Thursday or Friday night, and by Monday they were like one of the biggest bands in the world, which was, I mean, I think that stuff is cool. I just I don't know. I don't watch a lot of live musical performances.
But in that
not
sense,
my jam.
And the way that you do watch late night shows, like even not watching them, it is just I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't watch the shows anymore. I don't feel, do they even do musical performances anymore? I've not seen a clip of a musical performance in a long time, which makes me think they're all boring now. So I don't know.
Colbert has cool music on sometimes though, and like he'll have like the Rockin' Tours did like a whole week.
I like that.
He has cool music, and like if you ever hear comedians talk about Colbert in between takes, because like he'll talk, they're like he's the funniest fucking person, but like the character almost is like, I don't know.
I want to talk about another format of late night shows, which was all of their remote shows when during the pandemic they all had to scramble to still find a way to produce their shows. And I thought every single show, except maybe James Corden's show, but I mean, whatever. And I didn't really watch much of Jimmy Fallon's show, but I thought that like Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, and Stephen Colbert especially, like their shows got like marketably better during their remote pandemic shows, when it was just the sounds of like Seth Meyers' crew laughing or Stephen Colbert's family laughing in the background. Like I thought that they had, because there wasn't the like studio audience to feed off of, which I know a lot of the hosts were upset not to have. I thought that it meant that they actually took a lot more like risks with jokes, and also had more time to fit in more jokes. And I thought all of their shows got way better, and then as soon as they got live audiences back, I thought most of them dipped back down, except for Seth Meyers, who
I was just going to say Seth Meyers kept it.
Yeah,
he never wore a suit again.
Exactly, love it. He like
calls
out all his writers by name sometimes. It's a much more like casual approach which I think is more fun.
Hey, I'll have to check this kid out. He sounds promising.
And Conan's his remote shows were awesome.
Yeah, where they put like Andy Richter as far back in the seats at Largo as they could. Great, loved it.
Also, fantastic. Such a cool fucking move that he did that for Largo.
That's awesome.
Like, that's rad.
Rad shit, bro.
Do we want to talk about any of the controversies swirling around the late night time? Evan, you talked about how you love to keep up on late night drama, even though you don't watch any of the shows.
I mean, a general disdain for James Corden has kept me like abreast of drama here and there, and then a good old article or two about Jimmy Fallon kept my attention.
What do you think about that? The Fallon thing?
Go ahead, Evan.
I have a specific relationship to it in that I can see, so setting the drinking aside, the potential that now he's like showing up at work drunk, that's, I don't know. I wasn't there. People's description of what it's like working at that office sounded a lot like my last job, which was a fucking nightmare. And so I feel like particularly like fuck that whole thing. And that's not all Jimmy Fallon. It's clearly the network, everything going on there. There's like 8 different showrunners in 6 or 7 years, whatever the number was. They got problems. And I particularly was like, this reminds me of the worst time in my life. And fuck it all.
I think it's interesting that there's been the stuff that came out recently with Jimmy Fallon having a rough workplace, James Corden being a rough boss or person to be around. This isn't late night, but Ellen DeGeneres being a tough person to work for in a similar talk show format. And I've heard a couple people who have worked for Bill Maher's show be like, he's not that great to be around. So I just think it's interesting. I'm like, I kind of go back and forth where like, I'm sure that they are like rough workplaces, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I can't help but also be like, yeah, but everybody hates their boss. So I believe that the stuff is bad, but I also am like, just interview every employee everywhere, and 95% of them are gonna be like, oh, my workplace sucks, dude. So I agree with it, but it's also like, or I don't agree with it, but I empathize with it and believe it, but I don't. But I also feel like, hey, interview me about my workplace.
I mean, not excusable because some of the accounts are not good, and nobody should have to like if I'm away from my family and shit, like you're not allowed to be mean to me. Like, like I have heaven waiting for me, and so like if you don't let me you're not allowed to be mean. But I've also never been the boss. of hundreds of people
Yeah.
who I have to fucking be on. And like, it's goofy on. It's not like cutting up. Like, you can't say certain things. You have to, like, I get, and if you're an alcoholic, like that's part of the equation too. So if you're an alcoholic, you have all that. Like, granted, you shouldn't be like yelling at people because they looked you in the eye like Ellen did. But yeah, I mean, also it kind of goes back to like even the argument that was posed against writers in the strikes of like, no, you should be grateful to be here though. And it's like, okay, yeah, you should, but I think there's a way you could be stressed out and not be a monster. I think you could be mean and have bad days without being a monster. But like Evan, you were saying like that your last job and how bad it was and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird because it was what, radio or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, I mean, but that DJ, come on, man, he's good at what he does. You got to give it to him.
I never have, and I never will.
If people don't know, Evan used to work for Casey Kasem.
Yes.
And hated it.
Rotten hell, Casey. Coming up next, hell.
Coming up
next, Casey Kasem. Don't rate me.
We all
Coming up next, my foot right up your ass.
No, but the biggest thing for me was the that like almost like triggered the description of like when you go into the office and everyone is talking, like, is it a good Jimmy day or is it a bad Jimmy day? Because if it's a bad Jimmy day, we're all in for hell today, and nobody talk to him and nobody have fun. It's like, I think it's just kind of a global, like Chris, is what you're saying is accurate. Like, well, most people's work sucks and nobody wants to really work. And that is a job where it's like, yeah, you should be grateful to be there. What a dream. But when you have that dream and then it's like, no, it's not a dream at all. It sucks. It's a terrible job. It's not fun. And when you piece it together and say, host aside, this should be a blast. This is just a bunch of funny people getting together, coming up with some funny shit every night for a show. And if that sucks as much as any of our jobs has ever sucked, what are we doing? It all just sucks. That's bad. I don't know what my point is. I
get fun. Like, it should just be fun. And I get the stress of, I mean, not anymore. Imagine at the height of ratings wars and shit like that. I get that, like, to where like Leno and Letterman, I get like stress during that. But like, yeah, it should be the most fun place to work. Like, it should be what Google, you know, like, I never worked at Google, obviously. Never been in it.
We should all try that. Maybe that's an episode. The three of us work at Google.
But, like, I just imagine, like, ball pits and slides and fucking scooters and, like, all a comedy show should be is, like, a fucking ball pit with Sharpies. Yeah. And you get to, like, draw, like, knock-knock jokes. And
a ball pit full of comedy writers. They all write joke on a ball. And then it's like bingo. The system just takes a ball out and they pull it out and go, is this good? That goes in the show. This is my show. The Evan Cox Show. Cox.
Late Night Cox.
Late Night Cox. There it is. I was going to say Cox Tonight, but I'm like, this needs a punch up. Team.
I like Cox Tonight.
Cox Tonight.
Yeah, Cox Tonight is good.
Late Night
Especially
Cox,
if it was short. Like if it was like a 30-minute show, so it was like not enough Cox Tonight.
Sorry, not enough Cox. Not enough Cox.
Yeah, I like the your title of your show starts with sorry.
Not enough. But that is also like, hey, if you don't like me, it's gonna be quick. Speaking of which, Derek, we buried the lead. You've hosted your own late night shows.
I mean, that's a stretch, but yeah.
Yeah, you have. How was that?
Evan process? And I were guests on one.
No, you were a guest So I did it in high school with my like best friend Scott. We did it for like 2.5 years.
Round of applause
Scott.
for Scott.
Come on, Scotty. Scotty still has that house.
Yeah, go get him, Scott.
Round of applause.
Throwback 200 episodes.
The great Scott.
The great Scott.
Great Scott.
So I wanted to do it again. So like I would do little workshops around town before I like did like the hour version or whatever. And you guys were on, and I did about 5 or 6 of them, and 4 were good. 1 was okay, and 1 was real bad. The one was real bad was your guys'.
I was gonna say you don't.
But
we bring that energy
no.
to the club.
It was, but like also it's like that's what workshopping's for or whatever.
The thing that I remember from when we were a guest on your show, like I think you gave us. I don't know if you gave us the direction of like, hey, you guys can either be like, oh, this show is so awkward and uncomfortable. Let's really heighten up that you guys don't want to be here, or you guys can go the opposite direction. Either way. And so
and you went hard on the first.
Evan and I were like, oh, acts like we don't want to be here. You got it, buddy.
Which also,
and that audience hated us.
Yeah.
So if you as a host is bombing, and the people who are honestly don't want to be there for the bombing reasons, and then are also acting like they don't want to be there. And like most of the times I would do it because I would do it like a 12 minutes. I would start with like 5 minutes, 12 minutes. And I worked up to like 45-minute thing. Yeah. Right? But there's times where it would be like 5 minutes, and I was like, just give me another second. And like that time, I was like, just fucking cut the lights, dude. Just cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was it. It's so quiet for about 12.
You handed stuff out to it like a little like. Did you hand out like a zebra cake or something like that? You gave us some like.
Yeah, I'm always sponsored.
I
always got to do commercials.
And so
I just sat there and ate my cake.
I don't know if I
like
handed it to Evan or what, but somewhere in the exchange between Evan and myself of a zebra cake, I almost sliced his eye with the like plastic edge of that wrapper. And we both had a moment of like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys.
That's what I remember from guesting on your show. Almost slicing Evan's eye.
No, we are also sorry.
With a zebra cake wrapper.
that felt like we brought an energy that no one was enjoying.
Nobody in that room enjoyed any part of it. And then, Michael Burns, put up like he's a great dude. He's an amazing musician. Go look up his YouTube channel called Wisecrack. He looks at comedy through philosophy lens. He's fucking brilliant.
He and I were in a sketch class together. I've been on a sketch writing panel with the man.
He's awesome. I fucking love that dude. And one of the things that made me like really like be like, oh, this dude's good is he told me I had a bad show. Like, because he was a guest on one of my shows. He was a guest on the 45-minute one. And he was like, oh, no, it was, like, really good, man. He was like, yeah, that time at it was, like, a fucking bombed. And I was like, yeah. But, like, I would much rather have somebody who's, like, honest with me. Yeah. Because how many times have you had a bad show and people was like, good show, buddy, good show, good show.
We've talked about this a lot.
And so I made a point to where, like, I'm never rude. I'll never go up to somebody and say you have a bad show or whatever. But but I don't tell everybody good show anymore. Yeah. Like unless if I think it was a good show, just because like it doesn't do anybody good and it's insincere and like you shouldn't lie to people. You shouldn't make it a point to just lie to strangers. And you don't have to say like it was bad, but like for you to go out of your way and saying like that was good.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but one of your long. I don't know if it was the 45-minute one. Michael was in the audience and had a bit in it. At the Pack Theater. Yeah, that was a very fun show.
That was my favorite show.
That was a good one.
That's the show. You try to get it going.
You had a band.
I I had a band. Patrick was the guest.
Patrick was the guest always.
Patrick was the guest.
You can't lose.
No, honestly,
that's a hole in
like
one.
Patrick is somebody who it doesn't matter what he's doing. Is like he'll get a room just to laugh.
He
like
just spreads joy.
Well,
he's a cartoon character.
Was he also a guest on the one that we did, or was that somebody else?
No,
somebody else was a guest after you and I came on, and like really helped. The audience was like, "Thank God somebody else is out here."
Yeah.
They loved whoever that next guest was. I think it was Patrick. I don't know.
Patrick
Patrick
was your announcer that night from the stands. I don't know the guy who was your other guest. I remember him, but it was no one I've ever met before.
I should know. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I had tattoos. That's all I can tell
you. I do not know. I feel bad, but I did. But the pack show is the one that I'm gonna. The Glendale room would be a good space for it, so we might do it that. But I loved the way that I did my shows because is like I just get to have funny people around me, and so it's all improvised other than like 3 or 4 jokes, and then it's just like, okay, you're gonna interrupt the show as this character, but like there's no, and so like each show has like 5 or 6 different characters that come on and stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like an excuse just to like hang out with funny people, but get like to give a platform for the undervoiced.
Improv comedians in Los Angeles. Those without a voice. No, I think it is. It's so cool. It's such a cool format for just like, because I love, and hey, have us back on sometimes. We'll bring a better energy. I promise. But I love the idea of like, because that is so much of how Conan's show used to work. And character from the audience interrupts the show, and then it's a little character piece. And I think that's so much more fun and so much more comfortable of a way to watch character bits than any of the like, go to a UCB show and it's everyone's going to do a character one after one, character parade. It's like, nah, it's fun. It's just a fun place for someone to write a little like 2-minute bit of a stupid character. And that's great.
Victor, who is the band leader that night, he wrote a piece, and somebody else did it, but it was called Yummy Gummy Cummy Tummies.
I remember
So during the show, the Shark Tank music starts playing, and somebody comes in, he goes down the hall. That was like an ongoing bit. Somebody opens the door thinking we're a different show all the time. So he comes on thinking it's Shark Tank, but we let him pitch it to us anyway. And we're eating these like yummy, cummy, gummy tummies, and they're just gummy bears, but they're full of 100% protein. And he tells us, and the joke is it's his semen, right? That's the whole bit, right? And we keep eating them. And my brother-in-law surprised me by bringing my dad. And so like when that started, I was like, fuck. And then I hear him like laughing hysterically.
Oh, good.
But then it was funny because Victor, who was the band leader, after he knows, just throughout the shows, just keeps popping them. And that was like an ongoing bit. It was a fun show.
Yeah. I met your dad.
You met my dad.
I did meet your dad.
I went on a baseball trip recently, and you came up way too often.
That's comfortable for me.
That's what he told me. He's like, enough about this boy.
This boy. I don't know. We're at the 57-minute point. Are we? What? Anyone else have any other thoughts they wanted to squeeze in before we squeeze out of here?
On late night.
What do we think the future of late night looks like? That coveted spot after the Daily Show. They've tried a couple different things and nothing seems to stick. Now that Corden's retired, they're going to replace his slot with a reboot of At Midnight. What an insane choice.
It's a real out of left field choice, but I'll see what they're up to when it gets going. It is interesting.
Yeah.
It does feel like there's this, and like the Daily Show on it's in and of itself, like still really postponing, even committing to like, yes, we are gonna definitely have a host. It feels like there is this. I just have to assume the shows aren't doing well. Like people aren't watching them.
No.
And similar to me working in radio, where it's like radio, and hey, I'm gonna blow this wide open. Guess what, everyone? You can listen to radio on your phone, on your computer. You can listen to it anywhere. That doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters still is those random people that get little Nielsen notebooks and get to write down what they've been listening to and send it back. And that's how ratings work. So streaming shit doesn't do shit. I don't know. Maybe all these shows are in trouble and they're just, they all go bye-bye. And even though I don't watch any of them, that would make me really sad. I like the
Start
format.
watching them.
Maybe.
I love the format.
I love the format.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't have cable.
I think it's weird to say like podcasting as if it's not been around a long time and stuff, but like Conan, it's specifically his transition where it's not a celebrity who has a podcast. It's just a continuation of his show in a different format. So I think there's like a lot of that. You saw even when his show right before it ended, where it was just more conversational.
Yeah,
it was just more that,
just sitting around.
This is a prediction that I don't know means shit, but I do think this is going to sound so pretentious too.
Great.
But like the corporate, the corporate late night, I do think it's going to kind of peter out.
Yeah.
To where, and it doesn't mean like Fallon's obviously brilliant, but it's just like that format. I don't know if there's that how continue, but there's going to be, if that goes away, then there's going to be a fucking craving for that. And I hope when it does come back, I hope funny is number one.
Yeah.
Like over everything. And like, I get wanting to take down the man. Like I get it, but like there's people out there trying to take him down.
Yeah.
Like I get it. And so like, I understand the argument where people are like, no, dude, for like an hour, I just want to fucking just silly.
Yeah.
And so like, I hope that it steers away from like corporate kind of like generic boring. But then I don't know where the fuck is the home of that going to be, because streaming's not going to work.
Right.
Live comedy. You come out and see this guy. You give me $5 at a time.
Derrick Lee Hood, the $5 at a time. Of late night. Who is like, and then maybe this is too late to be bringing up a question none of us are prepared for. Is there a person out there that you're like, that's who, if all the late night hosts left right now, or now, let's put the Tonight Show aside because that is peak the corporate thing you're talking about. One of the late shows, Seth Meyers leaves. Mm-hmm. Who's someone that you're like, I would love to see that person get the chance to have a show and do something awesome with it?
I think that's a tough question to answer because like I'm gonna reframe it, and I'm gonna say, let's say that they weren't doing the reboot of At Midnight.
Sure.
Let's say that someone was filling that slot, and the only reason I'm gonna change it from that is because the NBC
fair
pipeline seems to be that then they would pick Colin Jost and just put him on late night, the weekend update to late night to Tonight Show pipeline. I think that's what they have set up now. I mean, I would love it if if it was Colin Jost and Michael Che together, but
I was just thinking that, like, how could
I don't know that either of them would work hosting the show solo as well as they would together, but maybe that's just me. I'm gonna say I'd like to see Paul F. Tompkins do it. He had those interview series he had for a while called Speakeasy.
That was great.
Which he recently revealed on an episode of Freedom that they tried to pitch as a show, and the company put together a reel that did not feature him in it at all. It was just celebrities giving answers to questions you didn't hear, which is insane.
So fucking funny.
I always thought that it was a short interview, relatively short form. I think they got longer as the show went along, but
yeah,
started out relatively short, but they were really good, interesting questions. People seemed laid back. People seemed willing to joke around, which sometimes they don't seem to be willing to do on American talk shows. If they go overseas to Graham Norton, they're like, yeah, let's go nuts. But I'm gonna say Paul F. Tompkins for that for the interviewing skill, as well as through his various podcasts and connections to the comedy community. Feels like he would bring a lot of people he knows to kind of do different bits or write or whatever.
This would be enjoyable. I'm going to say give Ron Funches an hour of giggly love fest, and I'd tune in.
I would say Michelle Wolf, who
she's great,
like Seth Meyers' writer and stuff.
Yep.
Or Tina Fey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Tina Fey would be so good at being serious, but I remember rewatching 30 Rock and just how many times fart doctors mentioned it. I think she would be a good mix.
She would. I think at this point she's so above that.
I think. There's a lot of rumors that she'll take over for Lorne Michaels at SNL.
Oh, yeah.
So that could be
would be rad.
An avenue as well.
That'd be pretty cool.
Maria Bamford too.
Oh God,
I would like to see happen.
I would love that.
It wouldn't be
it would definitely.
It wouldn't last.
No.
But it would be awesome.
It would be rolling more into the Craig Ferguson side of things. People in a horse costume dancing. I love Maria Bamford.
I saw her at the Clubhouse. I
missed all of those shows. There was
She doesn't like.
Go
Go ahead.
Oh. I was just going to say there was a brief period of time where she was just taking classes at UCB. She took a 101 improv class at UCB while we were all taking classes. I'm like, damn, I missed out.
Yeah, she says she doesn't like being out late just to crowd work, just to try out work. So she'll do a show at the Clubhouse for 15 people at 2 p.m.
Yeah, it's fun.
As someone else who doesn't like to be out super late, I love that.
It's maybe one of the reigning reasons that I'm because there are reasons I wouldn't mind doing an improv show again, but I'm I do love not being on the hook for an 11:30 slot. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, that makes. If I don't have that, I'm well, what's the point of 3 o'clock in the afternoon if I don't have 11 o'clock? What's all this for if I don't have that?
That's all I need.
But you guys,
I like to sleep.
I think you guys didn't dip your toe. You guys weren't hey, let's do a show whenever we can. You guys were hey, we're gonna do 17 fucking shows a week.
Yeah,
I'm gonna swim in it and hate every second of it.
Yep.
Nah, there were some good moments.
I love Chris. You don't have to say anything so much, and the fact that you're physically being don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. You just have so much in your emotion all the time, and it's never good. Yeah. It's never positive.
Yeah,
I'm bursting with compliments right now.
I've never had Chris look at me and been I bet he's thinking something good right
now. I think we've done it. We had a good chat with the future of late night, Derrick Lee Hood. Everybody, the great Derrick Lee Hood. A man who I was on his podcast once and was challenged to remember his name and couldn't remember his name. It's not fair to put people on the spot like that. knew your first name.
I'll do it again. Also, this is going to be cheesy, but fucking congrats for keeping this thing going.
Thank you.
And I did 10 episodes and posted 8 of them, and I was like, this is fucking work.
It's hard, yeah.
It's like, and so thanks for the bump, though, the How Do We Human bump.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I want to say it because it is a lot of work. But hey, I think both Chris and I think we still enjoy doing this. What do you know?
Yeah,
that's nice.
Now I was like, should I just turn my camera off and say it? Like,
all right. Well,
and then congrats on it though, and congrats on the engagement.
Thank you.
I'm not involved.
Is that private?
No, it's come up on the podcast, of course.
Of course.
Hey, let me give you one piece of marriageable advice. Okay?
Oh yeah, here it comes.
Hey,
this is the good stuff.
You keep that broad happy. If not, watch out.
That's good advice. Good
and this
advice,
bro time, say goodbye to it, buddy.
Goodbye to How Do We
Fucking over.
You can listen to more of this shit wherever the fuck you want. Look anywhere. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Amazon Music for some reason. It's on Spotify, except for a couple episodes where we had too much music in it. Leave us ratings, leave us reviews. We love all that shit. You can also find us on social media. We're on Instagram at HowDoWeHuman.
We got that handle.
We're on Facebook at HowDoWeHuman.
Gotta get that handle.
Boop, boop. We're on YouTube at HowDoWeHuman.
I don't think you're ready for that handle.
Oh, sure. And you can send us a little old email. That is howdowehumanpod@gmail.com.
The best part of that handle is that it's an email.
Woo!
Derek, anything you'd like to plug?
Oh, yeah.
Demon Improv.
Yeah.
Look us up.
You're on Instagram.
We do shows. It's fun.
What's your Instagram handle?
Demon. It's I think it's just at Demon Improv.
I think you're right. Follow them. They
do you
post
guys
their
start
shows?
every show by like doing, like a summoning yourselves to the stage?
Ooh, I like that.
I do. I try not to because it's stupid. But I say, hi, we're Demon, and we're here to convert you to the Church of Satan through the art of long-form comedy.
Love it.
Something. But I don't know why. Devil's funny, right?
Devil's funny.
If you guys ever do a podcast about the devil, please call me. Because
skinny guy, all red, little pitchfork.
Yeah, any awkward moments with the devil, Derek?
But people believe in it, and people who are doctors believe in it, and lawyers, and it seems outdated.
Nobody wants to get poked in the butt.
But maybe, I don't know. Nobody wants to get Nobody wants to get Anyway, good ending, guys.
Yep. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.